Hello and welcome to another video by Game Dev Journey. I'm so glad you could join me today as we explore parallax scrolling. If you enjoy the video, please tap that like button and consider subscribing if you want to see more from me in the future. Today we will focus specifically on infinite vertical scrolling, which is the technique made famous by games of the shoot 'em up genre, including space shooters and the newer bullet hell shooters. In your typical shoot 'em up or shmup, the player combats a large number of enemies by shooting at them while dodging their fire. The player relies largely on reaction times to succeed. Generally, the genre features some kind of craft and scrolling movement. The conventions for what constitutes a shoot 'em up were established in the 80s. Famous games in this genre include Raiden, 1943, and Raptor, Call of the Shadows. Did you play any of these games? Let me know in the comments. Footage in the background is of the Made with Godot game Spirit of Mercuro, itself inspired by the 1997 classic Demon Star. You can play it yourself on itch.io, so please follow the link in the description. Godot makes the process of initiating a parallax scrolling background quite easy, as it has a node for parallax backgrounds and a subnode for each parallax layer. Unity was not quite as simple and involved me creating a duplicate of the background and looping it round as if it was on a drum. So here we are in Godot. What you'll notice is I've created a world scene which will hold the other scenes I'm going to be making. It's just a node 2D. Here is my player scene. It's composed of a kinematic body, a sprite, and a collision shape. I didn't need to add all these elements, but if you wanted to make your game playable, you would need all of them. I've attached a simple script, which you can find in the description, to move the player around. And as you can see, it lets me move the player from left to right, left to right. Now we're going to create a new scene for the parallax background. We're going to add a parallax background node, and we're going to rename it BG for background. We're going to add a parallax layer as a child of this node. It works specifically with parallax backgrounds, and as a child of the parallax layer we'll add a sprite so that we can add our texture. I've got a texture here of a space scene which we'll drag in, and we're going to resize it to make sure that it fills the entire viewport. Make sure that you set the mirroring on the y-axis because we're only going to be scrolling vertically, and ensure that the two images are joined. Godot automatically mirrors the image for us, which is really quite a helpful thing. Let's save it as BG. I'm going to attach my background script to the parallax layer. I've already created this script. Again, you're going to be able to find the code in the description. And what it does is it creates one export variable called scroll velocity. This is the speed at which the background will scroll down. Then we have a variable for the new position of the background. And then what we do is we make the background scroll, and then we update its position on the viewport. And here you can see that the background is scrolling really nicely. It's pretty much seamless. Now all we need to do is go to the world and instance the scrolling background and the player. And if we run it, we will now have a nice infinite vertically scrolling screen. Let's hop on over to Unity and see how we get along there. So here we are in Unity, and what you see is I have a simple scene set up with a camera and a player. The player has a script attached to it which allows me to move it left, right, up and down, and you can find this in the description as well. Now let's go ahead and add the background to our scene, and let's just expand it to make sure it fills the entire viewport. What we'll do now is duplicate this background and make the second background a child of the first, and then just reposition the second background so that it overlaps the first one. Once we've done that, let's attach the script to the first background, and this script I've already made. Well, I'll take you through the code now. What we have is a float called speed, which is the background scrolling speed. We also have a variable for the start position of the background. When the game first loads, we store the current position of the background, and then we change the transform of the background. In other words, we start moving the background down at the scroll speed, multiplied by delta time so that it is all smooth. Now, if the position reaches a certain amount, and you can play with this number in your own scene, then we restore it to its original position and the background will roll around. And there you go, you have the scrolling background in Unity as well. Let me know which one you prefer. Make sure to join me every Friday when I recommend other indie game devlog channels which you should be following. Once again, thanks for joining me. See you again next time.